Now, when you hear me saying pick a hobby, it is not because it's self-care. This is the exciting part. It's actually a psychological flexibility workout. That's a mouthful. But let me tell you, basically what it is, it's rewiring your brain. And let me tell you why women in midlife absolutely need this. Let's hop right in. I'm also going to, at the end of this, give you a list of 7 memoirs that I think will be really helpful if you're a reader. If hobbies just still feel like crafts to you and you're like, what types of hobbies are out there? I'm going to leave you with a kind of like a book list of 7 memoirs of people who took on a hobby and it transformed their life. I think that could really be helpful for just beginning to wrap your minds around hobbies in general. My name's Samantha. I love talking about the hobby philosophy. So many of us have this perfectionist brain. It is this brain that's tuned into productivity, and that is one of the hardest things that we deal with in midlife, because it's this conditioning that we've had basically our whole adult life, which is be more productive, set goals, be ambitious, optimize yourself, 10x yourself, all of that. And while that started off in the container of work and how to be efficient and effective at work, it has bled over into our leisure time, and it has taken over and basically colonized our idea of leisure time and hobbies, so that now people are saying, here's how you have to be more effective in your hobbies, and here's how to optimize your hobbies, and here's how to make money from your hobbies, and here's how to leave your job for your hobbies and work your passion. And it has completely decimated this idea of creativity just for creativity's sake. Like, let's do things that give us nothing in return except joy and fun and something to do. And we don't know how to do that. I remember I gave a art project to some women who are in midlife. They were all about the same age, like 40s and 50s, and they were getting really frustrated because it was not working out how they thought it should, how the model project looked, and it was just, the perfectionism was like eating the group alive, that we just had to step back and be like, guys, this project is fun. It's supposed to be fun. What's happening? I had another woman, I was leading an art workshop, and another woman was telling me about a time that she went and did a paint and sip. And she painted, and it was one of those where it's like everybody was painting the same picture. And she spent like 2 hours doing that. And when she left, she immediately walked around the corner and threw that painting in the trash because she hated it so much. And it's like, oh, I fear we're missing the point. And so we're all like this, myself included. And it's an unraveling and unwiring and unlearning that we have to do of this idea of productivity infusing hobbies. Why hobbies? Why is that an important thing? Because when we give ourselves space to do activities that interest us but have no outcome that we're counting on, like, it doesn't have to make us money, we don't have to be getting better at it, we don't have to be optimizing our time at it, we're just doing it. We're just doing these things because we want to. I know it's revolutionary, but just for that, then what happens is it starts to teach us to learn to turn down that perfectionist voice. It helps us to practice this muscle of doing things and not having to do it perfectly, not having to make it something. It allows us to get comfortable with being a beginner, because a lot of times maybe the things we're trying to do we might be new at it. So let's say if your hobby is bird watching, maybe you're really new at it. And so you might not be great at it. You might not understand how to do it, might not have that payoff that you're looking for immediately. And there might be a learning curve that you have to do. And all of that process teaches you something. It puts you back in the mindset of being a beginner. And that is revolutionary for us as women in midlife, because we tend to be very highly capable. We know what we're doing. And so we become rigid in our brain. And yet this is the season when we're going through so many transitions. If you have kids, maybe they're graduating and maybe you're beginning to be an empty nester. You might be going through the transition of perimenopause. You might be transitioning into a different role in your job. If you're in a relationship, an intimate relationship, maybe that relationship is transitioning and changing in this stage. And we are just going through all of these changes. And oftentimes we feel like we don't have that tolerance for change, and we don't have that tolerance for feeling not capable at what we're doing, because everything feels so new. And so doing hobbies, doing these things, these activities, whatever they are for you, whether they're crafts, whether they're experiences, whether they're trying new things, one new thing every week, whatever that is for you, being intentional about setting hobbies up in your life, things that you enjoy, spending free time doing things without a concern for the outcome. This is going to help us in this stage of midlife. And it's something that psychologists talk about as psychological flexibility. And this is like studied research, proven that women who have higher levels of psychological flexibility have lower anxiety. They have increased satisfaction in their life. Like, there's all these positive things that are attributed to women who have this flexibility, this ability to tolerate uncertainty. The ability to tolerate uncertainty without immediately needing to resolve it. So you can sit in uncertainty for a little bit longer. Women who have higher psychological flexibility actually become comfortable in moving toward discomfort, knowing that they've been in uncomfortable positions before and they've figured out a way to come out of it. So rather than being fear avoidant, like, oh, I'm not going there, that feels uncomfortable, and they avoid it due to fear, they are more apt to lean into discomfort and to stay in that discomfort longer. These are things that women who have practiced that muscle of psychological flexibility have increased capacity for it. And that's important in midlife. And one of the ways we can cultivate psychological flexibility is through hobbies, through this activity that we're doing where we're unraveling ourselves from perfectionism, from the need for an outcome to be controlled, and giving ourselves space to experience time and joy and play. Like, I say right now for me, like, I'm existing on hobbies and HRT. Like, those things are getting me through. That's what I call my hobby philosophy. And what I have done is created this space called the Aliveness Project. Everyone has their own Aliveness Project. This intentional space that you give yourself to think about what you want, to think about what makes you feel alive, and then to provide yourself the space to do those things with no judgment, with no frame of productivity on it, with just play and enjoyment and engagement in life. That's the Aliveness Project. And I think from there, when we can like lean into our aliveness projects, I think we get wisdom and we get messages about our life, and we can make decisions about our life and direction in our life from that space. So that's the Aliveness Project. And my idea for how to approach the Aliveness Project is what I like to call the hobby philosophy, which is just this, like doing these things, these new things over and over again, to play and have novelty and adventure and experiences as a way to build psychological flexibility in midlife. And I'm really excited about it. I'm not approaching my life from a wellness perspective anymore. I'm not like, well, it's all the protein, it's all the fiber, and I just feel like I'm this robot that just needs to be optimized so that I can have a good output. And I just feel like I've lost that ability to see myself as like a girl who's trying to live her best life here. And while I do need things like movement, and I do need things like protein and HRT and all of those things, I'm so much more than that. Like, I just want to learn to see myself in this holistic picture of a whole human self, and what do I need and what do I want, and why was I put on this earth, and what are the things that I want to tap into so that I'm like living this life how I'm designed to live it. I wanted to tell you these 7 memoirs that I found. This is a list. It's how hobbies changed these people's lives. So here's one. It's called Brace for Impact, a memoir. It's by Gabe Montesanti, and it is a story about how one woman used roller derby to kind of like transform her fear and her self-doubt. The second one is called Field Notes from an Unintentional Birder, a memoir by Julia Zarankin. Recently divorced and auditioning hobbies during a stressful career transition, Julia stumbled into bird watching, wearing multi-pocketed vests and carrying spotting scopes. Okay, the third one is called Dinner for One, How Cooking in Paris Saved Me. And it's by Sutanya Dakris, and I don't know if I'm butchering the names. But this author, her marriage ended to a Frenchman, and she moved to Paris, and she was like determined to mend her broken heart. So, and to fall in love with herself again. So she began cooking dinner for one in her kitchen. And along the way, she builds friendships in Paris. And it's the story of how the hobby of cooking dinner led into something else. Okay. Number 4. It's What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. It's by Haruki Murakami. And it's a story about, kind of like, I guess like Forrest Gump, like he kept running. And while he was running, he did a solo course from Athens to Marathon. And he talks about the effect that running had on his life. The 5th book is called Hooked, How Crafting Saved My Life by Sutton Foster. An actress, a Broadway actress and television actress, talks about cross-stitching, crocheting, painting, and other craft projects that kept her sane while dealing with an agoraphobic mother and a painful divorce and struggles with fertility. Like, I'm telling you, this is a real thing. When I tell you, like, focus on hobbies, like have this philosophy of hobbies in your life, it is not because it is this fluffy, I want to sell you arts and crafts, go to a crafts fair. Like, it's not about that. This is really about how you can begin to meet yourself. I love it so much. Okay. Let me tell you the next one. It's called Unraveling. It's by Peggy Orenstein. It's called Unraveling What I Learned About Life While Shearing Sheep, Dyeing Wool, and Making the World's Ugliest Sweater. I love it. I love it. During the pandemic, she wanted to make a garment from the ground up. So she like wanted to go from the beginning process to the end. And so it was her experience with learning to shear sheep and spin yarn and knit a sweater. And so I love it. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, I told you I would give you 7. 6. Okay, 7. A Honeybee Heart Has 5 Openings by Helen Jukes, who describes her emotional and rewarding journey over the course of a year after she was given a colony of honeybees as a gift and learned to care for and live alongside these fascinating creatures. Like, guys, I'm telling you, there's a way for us to be living, and it is not under the frame of productivity. What are we doing? What are we passionate about? What's making us feel alive? Like, what are we interested in? What do we like to do? What makes us us? How can we connect to us at the very heart of who we are? That 15-year-old girl, like, who is she? What is she like? And are you happy? And are you joyful? And so, yeah, I'm just really passionate about it. I'll drop this link because there are other memoirs in there that you can take a look at. If this resonated with you and you are someone who wants to lean into this, I'm just going to be giving you resources and talking about this with you and just sharing perspectives. And I would love for you to join me along the way and for you to share with me your perspectives as well in the comments below. Thanks so much.